Today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel, we dive into Bulleit Blenders Select. This was a project that was created by Bulleit's blender or craft blender, Ebony Major. This is coming in at 100 proof or 50% ABV. MASHBILL is undisclosed. However, this is thought to have been sourced through Four Roses, however, using 3 of Bulleit's proprietary yeast strains. Also, each of the bourbons that are blended within this batch is supposedly in excess of 9+ years old. So we'll see how the age on some of these things kind of translate throughout the review. Again, non-age stated, and MSRP on this one is a kind of a friendly $50, kind of a medium price point on a lot of the bourbons nowadays. So typically what I try to do with my reviews is we'll go through the appearance, we'll nose it, taste it, and then get into really any of the other details regarding the bourbon itself. So, all right, so color-wise, as you can see, kind of a light amber, lightish copper type of color. And again, a couple of things I like to try to do is move the whiskey around in the glass, introduce a little bit of air. In addition to this, if before you're kind of tasting anything, if you can allow the bourbon to just sit out for even a few minutes, let a little bit of air get to it, a lot of times that really helps in the overall profile or tasting of the bourbon. So, and then again, a couple of other things, or one other thing is, as you move the whiskey around in the glass a little bit, you'll start to pick up some of the oils on the glass, and this one's not too bad. It's not showing like a super huge viscosity or anything along those lines, but decent oil. So we'll see how that translates over to the palate eventually. But first, let's get into the nose. Boy, so right away, this big like hit of like vanilla, more of like a vanilla cake batter almost. It's very intense. Really nice, a really nice rye spice that's there. Oh, soft floral note on it. Even a little bit of some like honey, some of that honey sweetness. Medium oak, not super heavy on the oak so far. Really nice, and this has really started to come forward now in this one, is this really rich kind of like deep caramel note on this one. Even some butterscotch really kind of coming through in this a little bit. And then here comes some of the like kind of layered corn in there. I mean, obviously with the bourbon mash bill being heavy on the corn side, you'd expect it, but it's really starting to kind of come forward now a little bit. But overall, a very nice kind of sweet, typical type of bourbon profile that you'd expect. Hopefully this one so far that the nose and the palate will match. That would be nice. Yeah, but again, really rich vanillas and caramels. That oak is kind of coming through a little bit more. More of the butterscotch, but yeah, like a heavy vanilla cake batter note on this one. A little more butterscotch there as well. Even some dark fruits, more specifically, kind of like a black cherry type of note there. All right, more importantly, let's see how this one tastes. Cheers. So right away, this really nice, rich caramel note, a great rye spice to it. Little more oak kind of comes through on the palate than it did on the nose. Not nearly as much vanilla on the palate as I was getting on the nose. It was really heavy vanilla cake batter on the nose, not as much on the palate. A little bit there, but more of the rye spice and the oak is really starting to kind of come forward a little bit more on this one. A little bit of a drying aspect to it. Some of those light honeys I was picking up on the noses there as well. So it does become, so as I've kind of continued to talk a little bit, the oak for me on this one really starts to kind of come forward a little bit more, right on that mid to the back of the palate. The spice kind of lingers a little bit on this one. Some of those dark fruits kind of remain as well. I guess I'll even say with a little bit of like that that barrel tannin, it's bringing out a little bit of the kind of like the leathers and the tobaccos. I would say it's not nearly as sweet on the palate as it was on the nose. I would say this is a little bit more spice and oak forward on the palate. Some of those dark fruits that are there. It sits fairly heavy right on the mid to the back of the palate, but again, fairly oak forward for me on this. This was kind of going back to even when I did a review of the barrel strength from Bulleit. It was again very heavy on the oak and spice side of things, and it's kind of continued the trend with the Bulleit Blenders Select for me as well. You know, again, I still think it's just as the finish begins to kind of develop, a lot of those like leathers, tobaccos, the wood tannins, all of those kind of remain fairly heavy. Little underlying sweetness, more of the dark fruit sweetness than any of the vanillas and caramels. I did get some of those a little bit early on, but really it's transitioned away from that fairly quickly, again, into more of the leathers, tobaccos, the spice, that barrel influence on it. So overall, my thoughts on this would be, it's a solid everyday sipping type of bourbon. However, you have to enjoy a bourbon that's got a little bit of underlying sweetness to it, but more heavy on the barrel char, heavier on the spice side of things, those leathers, those tobaccos, a little bit of the drying aspect. I think if this had a little more sweetness that kind of lingered throughout, it would have probably really elevated this bourbon for me up into more of that kind of upper tier type of category. I mean, not in terms of like it being the super high end, but I think it just would have improved it a little bit more if it wasn't as tannic. I mean, I still think there's, for me, a little bit too much of the barrel influence for me on this one. But if that's something that you really enjoy, like more of an oak forward, spicy forward type of bourbon, then this would be something I think you would really enjoy. Now, if you shift over to a cocktail standpoint, I think this would be a really nice, you know, bourbon to have in a cocktail. So I think there's plenty of there, good proof, some of those nice wood notes, spices, things along those lines. But overall, I think it's a nice average, let's say, you know, bourbon. So, and again, $50, you know, isn't what it used to be. $50 has become a lot more of that medium type of price nowadays. So, but anyway, so hopefully, you know, that helps if you were, you know, looking for a little bit of information on the Bulleit Blenders Select. Again, just to kind of recap a little bit, this is 100 proof, 50% ABV. Again, mash bill undisclosed, non-age stated, and MSRP on this one is right around that $50 price point. So overall, I'll say a nice average plus type of bourbon. And yeah, so there you go. So if this is something you've had, leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I'm always curious to hear people's thoughts and feedback on the particular bourbon. So if you've tried it, leave a comment in the description below. So I would greatly appreciate that. So also, if you'd like to help support or contribute to the channel, you can through my Patreon page, which I'll also have linked in the description below. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those places, My Bourbon Journey. So check me out there as well. And remember, thank you so much again for watching one of my videos. Greatly appreciate all the support. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.